35 days in space. They have been successfully recovered from the water and hoisted up onto the recovery vessel Megan, and they are now working to get removed from the side hatch there that you see on your screen, which is now open. We have recovery personnel that are partially inside the capsule now, just doing a quick check-in with the crew before their extraction. Again, you do start to see some of that recovery equipment being wheeled off to the side there. That is completely normal and expected. We do this for all of our returning crew members after their space flight, so you will see them be assisted onto that before they are wheeled away to do some additional medical checks before boarding a helicopter and flying back to Houston, rather back to the coast of Florida before they fly on a NASA plane to Houston to be reunited with their loved ones at Ellington Field.
Something I want to point out while we have this particular camera angle, we can see the window, the crew window there, kind of frosted over due to the effects of that high heating during re-entry. That is the side where Jeanette Epps is seated. Now, above that window, you see basically looks like this circular hole, and that is actually one of two bays, if you will, where the drogues are fitted into. So there's one on each side, as there are two drogue parachutes. And you can also see around the side of the hatch where the lines that connect the drogue parachutes to the main parachutes, you can see how those run around the edge of the side hatch as well. So kind of a cool view to show some of the re-entry systems, or excuse me, the re-entry and splashdown systems used for our astronaut return.
And it looks like we are starting to see the first crew member be extracted. I'm not sure if that will be Commander Matt Dominic or Mike Barrett, but it is typically one of those middle seats because they're easiest to reach. So again, you do see that crew member getting some assistance. I can't quite tell who it is just yet.
I can only imagine what it feels like to have to stand up after spending nearly 8 months in space and having to stand up for the first time with Earth's gravity.
And that is NASA astronaut Matt Dominic, who is now out of the spacecraft. His very first space flight. Looks like we're getting some handshakes there.
High fives all around. For those that have just recently joined us, you can see that the Dragon capsule carrying our Crew-8 members has successfully splashed down and been recovered from the splashdown site off the coast of Pensacola, Florida. We have just seen the egress or exit of Commander Matt Dominic, who was seated in one of the two center seats. We can see, so we're standing by for the egress of the other three crew members. And on your screen there, some of the recovery team and NASA folks there assisting with the egress. As we mentioned, we, just standard protocol, we always help individuals coming back from long duration spaceflight. We always help them, give them some assistance back to the medical base. So I can only imagine that it feels like 100 elephants standing on your shoulders as you have to stand up. This particular mission was in space for 235 days, 232 of them on station. And this ended up being the longest duration mission that Crew Dragon has ever performed. So kind of a cool first there.
and the longest U.S. Spacecraft flight ever, whether that was through the shuttle program, Apollo, Mercury, Gemini. So that's a fun fact. And so it looks like they're working now to extract the next crew member. So we'll stand by to see who it is, but I do expect that it would be NASA astronaut Mike Barrett. But we'll confirm that just momentarily.
In addition to the individuals standing around the outside, there's also a recovery team member inside the capsule assisting with the egress.
And that is NASA astronaut Mike Barrett. This is he is the veteran on this space flight. The other 3 flyers on board Crew-8 were all rookies. And so in total, Mike Barrett has spent 447 days in space.
Saw some excitement there.
Yes. So remaining inside Endeavour is NASA astronaut Jeanette Epps, as well as Roscosmos cosmonaut Alexander Gurbankin. So we'll see who comes out next. You do see those footrests as they are removed from the spacecraft to give a little more space for recovery personnel to assist the crew members out.
I think it looks like we might be getting Jeanette Epps next.
So they're continuing to work to get the next crew member out, and you can really see there's quite a few folks on the recovery vessel. It just really speaks to all those that are involved with helping to make a mission successful. It's the recovery boat personnel, the folks in Mission Control Hawthorne and in Houston, as well as all around the world, those that support the International Space Station. It really is a huge team effort to have a successful mission like this. And in fact, there's 44 people on the recovery vessel, Megan, to help support tonight's splashdown.
Once again, we're standing by for the egress of our final 2 crew members. Yeah, it looks like NASA astronaut Jeanette Epps will be the next one to exit. Due to the limited space inside Dragon capsule, it's pretty normal to have the 2 individuals seated in the center seats, so the pilot and commander. It's pretty normal to have them egress first, as it helps give a little bit more working room there within the capsule for the crew members and the recovery team members.
And I do believe that is NASA astronaut Jeanette Epps who is next out. Yep, Jeanette Epps was the next one out. So Alexander Gurbankin will be next. Again, this was her first space flight. Some quick waves.
Round of applause.
And we are starting to see Alexander Gurbankin be extracted from the spacecraft as well. Some thumbs up. And we now have all 4 crew members outside of Crew Dragon Endeavour following their 235 days in space. Some cheers and excitement for Crew-8. That's great to see.
Checking to make sure they didn't leave anybody inside. No aliens as stowaways inside Dragon Endeavour.
Well, now that Matt, Mike, Jeanette, and Alexander are safely back home on Earth and getting checked out by the NASA medical team, we're going to wrap up our live coverage of their return. Now, this all kicked off on March 4th, 2024 from historic Launch Pad 39A at the Kennedy Space Center in Florida. After a successful liftoff and separation from Falcon 9, Matt, Mike, Jeanette, and Alexander made a 29-hour flight on board Dragon to the International Space Station. Since arriving at the space station, they spent nearly 8 months as members of Expedition 71 and 72, where they executed science experiments, spacewalk, and repairs while aboard the orbiting laboratory.
Their journey home began about 34 hours ago on October 23rd when they closed the hatch to Dragon and undocked from the space station at 2:05 p.m. Pacific time. After 4 successful departure burns and a phasing burn to line up their orbit, Matthew, Michael, Jeanette, and Alexander rested for a few hours before waking up to prepare for re-entry this morning. We jettisoned Dragon's trunk and performed our final on-orbit maneuver, the approximately 9-minute-long deorbit burn, and that occurred at 11:39 p.m. Pacific, 2:39 a.m. Eastern Time, and that sent Dragon on its path home. The spacecraft re-entered the Earth's atmosphere and slowed its descent with successful deployments of 2 drogue parachutes and 4 mains, with the final splashdown occurring off the coast of Pensacola, Florida, on time at 12:29 a.m. Pacific, 3:29 a.m. Eastern. Following that successful splashdown, we saw SpaceX recovery experts move in quickly and prepare Dragon Endeavour for its lift into the recovery vessel. And just a little less than an hour following splashdown, we saw Matthew, Michael, Jeanette, and Alexander make their way out of Dragon and into the recovery ship's medical facilities safe and sound.
Next up, they'll catch a helicopter flight back to shore where they'll transfer to aircraft that will take them home. The astronauts will take a NASA plane for the short flight back to Houston, and then they'll be reunited with their friends and family, bringing an end to this mission. It has been an honor and a privilege, the greatest privilege of my life, to get to share their journey with all of you as we continue this new era in human spaceflight.
Return today marks the end of the direct handover that we executed after successfully launching the Crew-9 mission to the space station on September 28th. Now, thank you, as always, for joining us for tonight's coverage of the splashdown of Crew-8. Remember to follow SpaceX on X and NASA online and on social media for updates for the very latest on crew and cargo flights to and from the International Space Station.
And we'll continue to share the progress of Matt, Mike, Jeanette, and Alexander on social media as they travel back home. We also do have our post-splashdown media telecon coming up at 2 a.m. Pacific, 5 a.m. Eastern Time this morning, where leadership will share a final update as we conclude this successful mission. So from all of us at NASA and SpaceX, it has been great to support this mission. Welcome home, Crew-8. So long.